Howdy folks, welcome to 20th Century Adventures. I'm Nathan Logsdon, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the history of hunting clothes from the very end of the 19th century through the first quarter of the 20th century, and show you little tips and tricks, kind of what that would look like, show you some photographs of original hunting outfits, and we're going to tell you a little bit about how to find these things as well. So to start out with, we're looking at a late 19th century hunting impression. This is a shotgunning impression, so you'd probably be looking for squirrels, rabbits, fowl, that sort of thing. That's we're not really going after deer necessarily, although the clothing would probably be the same. We would just more likely use maybe a different gun. But this is your 1890 to about 1905 look. Now, what I've put together here, I've got a pair of Fugawi Civil War artillery boots. Now, Fugawi has gone out of business. They do still have a few of these in stock, mainly in wide sizes, and they're heavily discounted. So if you get on their website, fugawi.com, you can find these boots, maybe in your size, but what they have is what they have, because like I said, they're going out of business. You can also find these from South Union Mills. They're still in business. They're still making them. So you can find these here. This is a good general purpose 19th century boot. It's just, you can use it from 1865 to about 1900, and they're just a good general boot. They're not necessarily specific to the military. After the Civil War, lots of people started making these, and they were pretty common as far as a work boot, hunting boot, tramping boot, whatever. So that's a good place to start with a 19th century looking boot. I've paired this up with the Bronson old-time pants, or old-time trousers, I think they call them. You can get these from Bronson and Company. They're really a good shape. They're good heavy-duty fabric. I really like these pants. I don't like everything Bronson puts out, and some things are just not even close to historically accurate. So tread cautiously with Bronson. But some of their stuff is really good, and the old-time pants is something that I can highly recommend. Now, if you really want to make them completely accurate for the period, they do have belt loops. They have buttons for suspenders, but they have belt loops as well. And I would remove the belt loops if I was going to use these exclusively for late 19th century impressions, because most pants at that time didn't have belt loops. So that's easily gotten rid of, no big deal. Now I'm wearing a 1895 vest. This is made off of a pattern. I can't remember the pattern that we used, but my wife made this for me, and it really gives the look. Now, I would generally shy away from blue in the woods because deer especially can see blue really, really well, and some other animals can as well. So generally you want to shy away from all shades of blue in the woods when you're hunting. But this is what I had. This fits the period. And if we're going after anything but deer, I probably will do okay. A lot of other animals don't react as wildly to it, but deer definitely do. So I've got a pocket watch. It's important to have some sort of timepiece and probably a compass on you anytime you go into the woods. Just helps you keep from getting lost. So that comes from Logsdon Co, my own shop. I'm also wearing a shotgun cartridge belt. This is the 1890 to about 1920 period cartridge belt. That's also on Logsdon Co. And this is heirloom quality work. I mean, this is top-notch, made in USA, good piece of leather that will last you a lifetime and probably your children's lifetime as well. As long as you keep it oiled, it should last over 100 years. It's for 12-gauge shells. I've got brass shells in it for my shotgun. I load these myself. I'm using a double-barrel 12-gauge Damascus. These Damascus wire twist barrels, you generally want to shoot black powder out of them only. Unless they're marked nitro on top of the barrel, they're not meant for modern smokeless powder. So load your own black powder charges. That's probably best. I've got my hunting horn. If you remember our video where we made this, this is a fun little piece. This is for calling your dogs or for signaling to other hunters. In the days before cell phones, you needed to have some sort of signal device on you, and this is the signaling device of that period. I've also got a gray Norfolk jacket. The Norfolk jacket really spans about 1885 up to the late 1920s. And it really didn't change much in that whole period. So that's something that you can really work in a lot of different periods with a good Norfolk jacket. And we do have one on the way with Logsdon Co. I'm working on a red and black pattern first, and then we're going to do some sort of gray or herringbone pattern as well, because the gray would be better for earlier stuff and the red and black better for later. Although the red and black does come into the American market in the 1870s. So really red and black check is still acceptable. But most of the images that I've seen of men in the 1890s, 1900s, 1910s that are wearing this sort of outfit, they're usually wearing gray or a herringbone stripe. So we'll do something along those lines. Gray is a great color in the woods. It blends in with the trees. It's the same color the deer are. If you're hunting in the fall, gray is a good color to go with. I've also got a bowler hat, or derby hat, as they're sometimes called. These are available from Logsdon Co. as well. You could actually switch out with like an 8-panel cap as well. The 8-panel cap that we have on our website goes from 1890 up to about 1930. So either of those would be perfectly suitable options. If you need more brim coverage, maybe you're hunting out west or something, then you might want to look at a Montana Peak, or early style Montana Peak, not the World War I style, but the earlier. So that's something that you can do that gives you more of a brim. It's not really a cowboy hat. It's a good outdoors hat. So I would recommend something along those lines. Of course, if you're deer hunting during deer season or rabbit hunting and your state has regulations on blaze orange, make sure you wear the blaze orange. But if your state doesn't require it, then you can do stuff like this and get by. So for our next look, we're moving forward to about the late teens, early 20s, and beyond. We can go up to about 1930 pretty easily in this. This is your classic Philip Goodwin look. If you're familiar with Winchester ads or maybe artwork on Field and Stream back in this period, you've definitely seen Philip Goodwin paintings. He would paint pictures of men out camping, canoeing, hunting, animals involved, things like that. This was always the look that he went for. He would also usually include one in a red shirt and one in a blue shirt as kind of his signature. So when you see that, you kind of know right off the bat that's a Goodwin painting. Sometimes he would use some other colors. Sometimes he would have them in other shirts, but usually you would see this sort of attire. So what I've got here is I'm wearing the Logsdon Co. wool pullover shirt. This thing is thick. It's super thick, super heavy duty, very warm. You don't even need a coat with this. It's about 40 degrees out here right now, and I'm comfortable. I'm actually wearing the What Price Glory wool 1912 military breeches. These would have been probably starting to hit surplus shortly after World War I. So this is something that you would have picked up pretty easily as Army surplus. They are very thick as well. They're really comfortable. The wool's a little scratchy. I recommend wearing something underneath, maybe a cotton or I'm actually wearing some virgin wool, very soft, long underwear underneath this. And that keeps it from itching against my skin, because this is scratchy. This is not so bad, but this is pretty scratchy. But these pants are durable. They look good. They're very warm. They stop the wind. I really like them a lot. On my feet, I have a pair of the Logsdon Co. Working Man's boots. You can get these from our website as well, logsdonco.com. This boot stops about right here, and so between the knee and the ankle of the boot, I've added a puttee, and that keeps things from getting into my shoe or wind getting in or mud or whatever. Soldiers from World War I would have been very familiar with these. They complained about them in the trenches. They said it was a pain in the butt to put them on, but they still wore them because they were useful. And then later on, you see men out in a civilian atmosphere hunting, and they're still wearing puttees. They might be wearing these, or they might be wearing the solid leather ones, or the 3-strap style, the canvas ones, even the canvas lace up on the side. I've seen all of that. Very, very common to see hunters in the 20s wearing puttees. So definitely something that worked, even if it's a pain in the butt to put it on. I'll tell you what, after you do this about a dozen times, it seems like nothing. It's not that big of a deal. It's not nearly as bad as lacing up tall boots. So now I forgot to mention this in the earlier 1890s, 1900s video, but I have a tie on, and I had a tie in that one too. I was wearing the brown cotton Logsdon Co work shirt, and it goes back to 1890, and I had a black silk cravat tied into a tie with that as well. You want to hold that collar closed. That helps keep wind from getting down into your shirt, and it also helps reduce the amount of scent that you let out. So there's actually a practical purpose for wearing a tie while hunting. Plus, it looks good. It was a part of fashion. It was something that everybody wore at that time. You didn't go out without a tie on prior to 1930. It just wasn't done. And it really was the machine age with lots of big machinery inside of factories and the threat of catching your tie on that machinery that really made the tie go away for working class situations. And now it's gone away for pretty much every situation aside from extreme formal. But what you would want to do, this is a wool tie. This is one I made, but I'm hoping to restock these on our website real soon. The wool hunting ties hopefully will be back soon. Just have to have time to work on it. But what you would do is you would tuck that tie in. And this was something that they learned in the military, and it was done really quite commonly from the 20s on up to the 1950s. If you were wearing a tie while hunting or doing any sort of physical work, you would tuck it in, and that keeps it from flopping around. It keeps the breeze from catching it and maybe signaling to a deer, because they'll notice the movement if the wind catches your tie. But it also keeps you from getting it caught on anything or stuck on anything, or, you know, heaven forbid that you lean over the car engine and it catches on the fan blade or something. So tucking it in is the way to wear it. I've got the World War I campaign hat that I'm wearing here. A lot of military stuff didn't get used. There's certain things that just never came out of the closet again. But the campaign hat was useful. Guys liked it, and in the trenches they had to give up the campaign hat and go to the metal helmet for their own protection, but they really still liked those campaign hats, and the military was still using them up into the 20s, and then they got rid of them and went to what we now think of as an army hat. But this hat continued to be popular, and you see it a lot in photographs. You see it in Goodwin paintings. That campaign hat, Montana Pete campaign hat, really stuck around for a long time and was popular after the war as well. Now I'm going out for big game here, so I've got my Remington Model 8 with me, and because of that I'm wearing a rifle cartridge belt. This is the Logsdon Co rifle cartridge belt. Again, this is USA made. This is heavy duty. It's built to last. The price is a little steep, but it's worth every penny, because, like I said, your grandchildren will be wearing this someday. It is heavy duty. Keep it oiled, it'll last forever, and it holds any 30 caliber round. So Remington 30, Winchester 30-30, it'll hold whatever you need that's that 30 caliber rifle round. And we do have them in two different sizes, one that'll fit most medium men and one that'll fit most larger men. So highly recommend that as well. So that's our Goodwin look, our 1920 early 20s look, and this is what you'd wear, especially in the West, all throughout the Midwest as well. If you're coming to living history, through 20th century living history, from say 18th century long hunter impressions, this is going to feel familiar to you. It's the wide brim hat, it's the breeches, it's the wool shirt, little tie around the neck here, and good tramping boots with leggings. I mean, it's the Kentucky Woods Runners outfit as well. So perfect for Rocky Mountains, perfect for Appalachians. This is a great hunting outfit. This is my general go-to when I'm out hunting. I don't hunt in modern clothes. I don't own the camo at all. If I'm going out hunting, I'm wearing something like this, usually with a buffalo check shirt instead of the solid color, if it's warm enough. If it's cold, I'll wear this, and I might throw my buffalo check coat over that as well. So there's kind of some ideas that that you can do. So here's another look at a 1920s option. This is for birding, so we're going to talk fowl for a little bit. If you were to go out and hunt ducks or geese, something like that, teals, this would be a good outfit to go for. So again, I've still got the What Price Glory pants on, and I'm still wearing the Logsdon Co wool shirt. What I have done is, instead of the rifle belt, I've put on this hunter's belt that has embossed designs in it, real pretty. It's on our website. And I've paired those up with hip waders. Now these hip waders, they're kind of hard to find. These are spot on, really, really close. They're actually a canvas, a vulcanized canvas, rubberized canvas. These were made for the Romanian army back in the 80s, I think. And you can find them on Army surplus websites every now and then. You just have to really watch and look for them, and hopefully they'll have your size. But I love these. They're thick, they're heavy duty. They do conduct cold pretty badly, so it's best to wear lots of wool on your legs and feet. But these are the best period hip waders that I have found. And they look like what's in the catalogs. So I've also put on the Logsdon Co shotgun vest. This is made for 12 gauge. Now it will hold 16 gauge shells. They're just a little loose in there, so don't be doing any somersaults or leaning over or anything, and they probably won't fall out. But 12 gauge fits really snug, so they're the ideal shell for that. And I've seen guys actually put 2 410 shells in the loops, so apparently that can be done too. Put 2 in each loop, and it'll hold 410s. But it's really made for 12 gauge. So that's what I've got in here. Of course, carrying the Model 12 Winchester. This is a workhorse of a gun. This one's from 1917. You can tell by the butt shape, it's an earlier one. But you can find these all different eras. They made them for a long, long time. So a Model 12 is a great way to go for any sort of bird hunting, rabbit hunting, whatever, raccoon, possum, whatever you want to hunt. It's going to be a good gun. But if you're really specific about wanting to look the part, go for an earlier style butt on it. You want that 19-teens, 1920s shape on the butt. Otherwise, a 12's a 12. If you're birding, depending on your state's laws, you may have to put a wooden dowel in here so that it'll only hold so many. This gun was actually used for birding, and so it's got a limiter dowel rod in there, which can be removed easily enough, but I left it in there because it's hand whittled. It's really cool, but it limits it to only 3 shells being in the gun, and that's because of state regulations. So, and those existed in the 20s too, so it's appropriate to do that. So then I've gotten rid of the big broad brim hat, and I've switched to an 8-panel cap. These are also available on Logsdon Co. In a couple different styles of wool. So this hat won't blow off my head as easily as the broad-brimmed campaign hat. So if I'm out on the lake, at the edge of a lake, hunting ducks or something, I'm going to want to not have a hat the wind can catch and blow off into the lake, and then I have to go fetch it with the boat. That's just not conducive to good hunting. So I'll wear something that's a little closer fitting, doesn't have as much broad surface to catch the wind, but it still has a little bit of a bill that will shade my eyes from the sun. Now, again, because we're out on the lake, it's going to be cold, the wind's blowing across that water, and it's going to cool you down real fast. So add an extra layer. I've put on my buffalo check Norfolk jacket, and that's going to keep me a lot warmer with all the layers that I've got. So again, we do have a Norfolk jacket like this in the works. It's actually going to be a window pane check instead of a buffalo check. So instead of little squares, it'll have big grid lines. but it's red with black lines, and that is coming hopefully before the 1st of 2026. So that'll be real soon. Everything else is available. Everything that I've mentioned from Logsdon Co is available on our website now. I think we ran out of the larger sizes of the vest. We're working on getting some more soon. So that's your 1920s fowling outfit. Now, if you're looking for something a little on the low class side of things, this is a good outfit to go for. Remember, hunting was not just a sport that wealthy people who could afford what few hunting specific clothes there were out there. Hunting was something that everybody did. Even the lowest classes did it. And maybe they didn't necessarily have access to as much true hunting clothing. They might have bought one thing they tried to use for a bunch of different scenarios, or they may have just worn what they had. So, and they still killed things. They were still out there bagging their limits. So this is another great setup here. It uses a combination of both everyday clothing and some hunting specific clothing. And pretty much all of this is available or will be available on Logsdon Co. So I've got the Logsdon Co sportsman boots. These have been our most popular shoe. Everybody loves these, and they will fit any hunting impression. It doesn't matter unless you're like, needing hip waders because you're hunting birds. Pretty much everything else you can use these sportsman's boots for, and they're great for driving, for motoring, for motor camping, whatever you want to use them for. These boots were so prolific in the period that almost every single hunting photograph I look up, somebody is wearing a pair of these. And surprisingly, a lot of them are being worn over the top of overalls, which I think is just cool. It's way cool. I've seen a whole bunch of pictures now that have that, and I think it's really great. So I've got the Logsdon Co Deluxe Hunting Wool Socks. These things are awesome. These socks are thick. They're wool. They're very warm. They will keep your feet nice and toasty, and they go high enough that if you pull them all the way up over your knee when you put them on, and then fold them down, and then back up. So you create this double band at the top of your boot. Keeps your sock in place. It's not going to go anywhere. Makes a nice pretty stripe at the top of your boots. It's a good look. So again, these overalls are also our 1915 to 1920 era overalls. This is more of a homespun overall. It's not the commercial ones that were starting to come out by the early 20s. This is what would have existed a little earlier. There's kind of a gap there, 1910s, that this is good for. This fits that period. I believe this pattern, I can't remember the date now, to be precise. I'd have to look it up, but this pattern was published in a Ladies' Home Journal magazine in the period. So all we did was we drafted it to different sizes. So this is a great pair of overalls. They're fairly lightweight, so they're good for summertime use. If you're hunting in warmer weather, they're going to be great. If it's cooler weather, you might want to wear your long underwear underneath of them because they're not real heavy. But that was deliberate because we figured people would be mainly working in them during the summer. So we made them a little lighter weight material because of that. I've got my canvas shotgun belt here. This, again, holds 12 gauge shells. Can hold 16 gauge shells loosely, but it's best with 12 gauge shells. And these are available on Logsdon Co as well in several different sizes. So nice little brass buckle on it. Nice canvas fabric belt. Got a bunch of loops. Goes about halfway around both sides. There's a gap in the middle. And that's so that when you sit in a chair, you're not sitting on shells. Copied off an original in my collection. Now I'm also wearing the Logsdon Co wool trail shirt. This is the buffalo check wool trail shirt. This one's red and black. We also have some that should be in the next few weeks that are green and black. So that's coming. Look for those on the website. Good warm shirt. This one buttons all the way down the front. It's not a pullover. And it's got leather patches on the elbows. Real nice shirt. I actually wear this shirt almost every day once it gets cool enough. I love this shirt. I've got several of them that I wear and I love them, and they hold up well. Like I said, I'm wearing them every day, and they're holding up really well. Still look good. So now on the outside, I've got this hunting coat, canvas hunting coat. This is actually an original canvas hunting coat from the period, and I am in the process of trying to reproduce this. It's going to take a while because I've got to draft patterns and sizes, and there's just a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes on trying to get any of this clothing out. So just bear with me. I know I've mentioned before that I'm working on this coat. I am still working on this coat, and it will happen eventually. I've also thrown in the same flat cap that I was wearing earlier. This is just a great all-purpose cap, and it's something that you would wear every day as well as when you're out hunting. So good look, easy to use. Now for the gun on this one, I decided to show off a little bit. This is a French tabatier rifle, or shotgun rather. This is a cheap gun. This is what people would have had if they were dirt poor and didn't have anything else. They might have a break action single shot shotgun, but something like this would have been something lying around, you know. So this is actually a French gun from the 19th century. They were originally muskets, and then they were changed to breech loaders and bored out to 12 gauge, so you could put a 12 gauge shell in there and breech loader. This one's missing the firing pin, so it doesn't work. But it is just a way cool conversation piece. You don't see these every day anymore. But they were really cheap. The French sold them off dirt cheap to the Belgians. The Belgians cut the stock down, made the breech on them, made them cheap shotguns. They sent them by the shiploads. That's ship with P. Shiploads of these guns went from Belgium to New York Harbor, New York City, and they were sold for as cheap as $5. And so late 19th, early 20th century, you would have seen a lot of these hanging around, and they would have been frowned upon by the guys that were serious hunters because these guns were junk. But they were dirt cheap, and you could find probably previously loved ones even cheaper than they were selling them on the dock. So this is a great gun to have, at least to look at. So for our last look, we're going a little forward here from about the 1930s, late 20s, really, maybe 28, 29, up through the 1960s, early 70s. This was the hunting suit. This was it. This is a Woolrich matching pants and overcoat, Mackinaw style coat. You can wear whatever you want underneath this. Use this as your outer. It's your camouflage because it breaks up your pattern. It helps people see you because it's red, and it is warm. Nothing's getting through this. The wind can't cut it. It is super thick, super warm. These are still kind of available out there. This one's an original from 1950, I think 153, somewhere in there. I forget the exact date on it. But you can find these on eBay, and they can range anywhere from $75 to $800. It just depends on the rarity of the pattern and how good of a condition it is and all that sort of thing. So great hunting suit, awesome hunting suit. I really love it. I have worn it while hunting a couple of times, and it's pretty awesome. If it's really, really cold out, yeah, I'll throw this on. It's great. I've paired that up with the Logsdon Co. Larigan moccasins. These are true moccasins. They don't have a sole on them. It's just a heavy piece of buffalo hide that goes all the way around, and then a lighter oil tan leather upper. And these things are great. These are the quietest shoes in the woods you will ever experience. I can go through walking the same way I normally would and make half the amount of sound wearing these moccasins. They are fantastic. That's what they're made for. That's the whole idea. Now, that said, you don't want to walk on asphalt, concrete, or gravel with these because it'll chew up the bottom where the leather is. It'll wear them out real fast. You know, these are not made for that purpose. These are made for walking on the forest floor. They're made for in the canoe, strap snowshoes to your feet, whatever. They're for that purpose. They're not for walking down the sidewalk. So that said, though, these do run a little bit narrow, So if you're going to wear extra socks and you want some room to kind of wiggle your toes and stuff like that, go about a size up. But you want them to be almost skin tight over whatever you plan on wearing underneath of it. Because the leather is oil tan, so it'll stretch some as you break them in. It took me about 6 hours to break in my first pair, which is this. This is the only pair I've had, and they've done really, really well. I have walked miles and miles. I've probably got about 20 miles on these now, and you can see they're holding up really, really well. They haven't worn through, no breakdown. Really, unless I step on something really jagged, I don't even get a stone bruise. I can walk over acorns and stuff and barely feel them. They've got an extra layer of leather and a synthetic inner sole, so you're not going to feel stuff hurting your foot. But because of the way that the bottom flexes, you can really grip the earth. You can when you walk on a rock, you can shape your foot to that rock, and they're very comfortable. My knees feel better, my hips feel better, everything after I've worn these for a day. I really love them. They're awesome. These wool fingerless gloves, these things are awesome because it warms the veins in the back of your hand. They're 100% wool. They keep your fingers warm by keeping the circulated blood warm, but you still have your fingertips to use, and that's really important when you're using a trigger on something. So make sure that you don't leave those out. You can use these for any period. These actually go back to the 18th century, maybe even earlier, and are still in use today. So and then I've got the Stormy Kromer hat. This is my regular hunting hat because in Indiana we have to have blaze orange on our head. We're not required to wear a vest or anything, but we're required to wear it on our head, and it can't have any logos on it. And so I bought the Stormy Kromer, and I have not turned back since. It's 100% wool. It's really comfortable. These, I think they came out in 1903. So you can literally use a Stormy Kromer for almost everything that we have presented today. So this is a great hat. The same company, been in business since 1903, and they're American made. It's a good hat. So highly recommend that. And like I said, I'll wear that with the other outfits I've already shown because this is my blaze orange. So, and then the gun for this outfit, this is a later Model 12. So you'll notice that the fin is different here. It's got a butt pad on it. It's a little different shape than the earlier Model 12 that we were looking at. But this is a gorgeous gun. I have to make a shout out to my friend Rick, who let me borrow this for this video, and hopefully for another one that I'm going to try and do as well. This is just a totally beautiful gun. I've never seen one in such great condition. I really love this piece. But I told him, I said, I need a later period Model 12 to go with this later period outfit. And he said, I got you, man, I got you. So thanks, Rick. I really appreciate it. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, give us a like and subscribe. And be sure to check out logsdonco.com, where you can buy most of the hunting gear that you've seen in this video. Also, What Price Glory for any military surplus looking things that you need. Work that stuff in and use some civilian and some military surplus. You'll get a nice mix. Don't try to go all military because that just wasn't done. We don't see that in photographs. But throwing a little bit in, that's going to give you a good look. And you can mix and match a lot of this stuff. On Logsdon Co, we try to put the date range that this clothing is acceptable for. So you'll see something will say 1910 to 1925. That's the range that I have seen that particular garment in use in my research. And there's so many photographs out there, and there's catalogs that you can look at, clothing catalogs. The Sears catalog from that period is a great example. And you can see the stuff that people were using and see the periods that they're using it for. So we've done part of the work for you by putting the dates that I have seen. And that's not conclusive. I mean, sometimes something pops up that I'm like, wow, I didn't know that was still being used that later. I didn't know that was that early. So those dates can fluctuate. They can change. We just try to give you a general idea and use your own research too. But we've tried to kind of give you a guide there in all the product listings. So anything that fits, let's say you're trying to do 1922, look at things that fit that period. Look at things that 22 falls in the middle of the dates or whatever, and try to kind of work it in. You can design this however you want to. You're building your ideal hunting outfit, and when you go out in the woods, you learn what works and what doesn't work. Remember that most of what we're using in fact, everything that we're using has been in use for at least 100 years. So everything, the stuff that I make, I reproduce it exactly the way that it was made. And I think what Price Glory does the same thing. With their stuff, they are reproducing World War I military equipment. And I think they do other periods as well, but we're talking about the World War I stuff because that's what we're going to use. They're reproducing World War I clothing and equipment exactly the way that it was. So when we go out and use this stuff, we're using it the same way that they use it. And that's part of that experimental archaeology, that getting the experience, immersive, whatever. So we're using tried and true methods. I mean, this stuff has worked. And so you can't go wrong with any of it. But just find the look that you like, figure it out, and go with it. You're going to love it. I promise. Wool is the best thing to hunt in. We'll see you down the road.